And I said this time and time again, MassThink polling group, we do polling, did a lot of polling on what was happening, during the pandemic, how it was impacting learning, how it was impacting families, mental health of students. And we know that one of the sectors that was most impacted was our public school systems, our teachers, our students, and we continue to see that impact today. And so one of the disruptions of the pandemic also led to increased scrutiny of the MCAS. Concurrently, there's been an interest in better using the MCAS as a student diagnostic tool, as well as alternative measures, considering social and emotional learning or school climate, for example, is also gaining ground. What do you see now or on the horizon with assessments that provides more actionable information at the student level for parents, teachers, and students for improving the school climate?
I think in K-12, we know that MCAS has been around for more than 20 years. And I think what you saw, if you look closely at the data, is MCAS had a definitive positive impact on student results in Massachusetts. We were in the middle of the pack in the country when MCAS started, and we kind of rocketed up to number 1 or number 2 in the country based on not just the test, but the standards and accountability, the frameworks, everything that went in with that program. We kind of brought order from chaos and really standardized a lot of things. And it really worked for the first 10, 12 years or so. But for the last 8 or 10 years, our kids have been flatlined on national assessments. And I think we owe it to our kids to kind of imagine what's next. We're doing an innovative assessment right now. We're working in science that's more interactive, that's less time intensive, that hopefully yields better data and is more connected to the real world. And we hope to move that out and do that kind of assessment in the future for all of our subject areas. It's going to take some time. In the meantime, the pandemic kind of allowed us to change our practices on MCAS. We cut the time of the MCAS down in grades 3 to 8 in half. We felt like our kids, yes, we needed to have some information on how they're doing, but we didn't want to offer the full suite of MCAS testing, which can be, frankly, kind of a time-consuming effort, especially if you're a middle school principal in the spring. And so we wanted to do something that was more nimble, quicker, give families some data, because parents were very worried about their kids' performance, how they did, what they were lacking, give districts some data to use, but also give them some relief, because recognize that what we were going through was, once in 100 years, we hope, kind of event, and that we needed to be more flexible than we've ever been before. And what I think it's allowed us to do is to really give us the running room now to think about how can we reimagine assessment going forward. I used to say to people that, pretty soon they're going to look at MCAS and they're going to look at that like 19th century medicine. Get your saw out, because the best we can do is amputate. We need scalpels, we need better tools, we need better assessments that really kind of tell us how our kids are doing on a multitude of intelligences. I had the opportunity this weekend to go see the play at Lawrence High School. There are intelligences for kids that are doing performance that aren't showing up on an MCAS test. There are intelligence in vocational schools that don't show up on an MCAS test. And we're not really factoring these things in when we're looking at the performance of children, to say nothing kind of the social emotional learning and the intelligence that comes in that area as well. So I think we can build a newer, better assessment. I think it's going to take a little time, but we've already got the work underway prior to the start of the pandemic.
Just to add to that, I think we're in, again, very much aligned. Our board has recently, among 5 major initiatives they want us to move forward this year. One is to review our admissions requirements into our 4-year institutions. And I know, Worcester State is one of the early adopters of an SAT optional. And we've now piloted it all of our 4-year institutions. Amherst was the last one to do that, and students are preferring an SAT optional approach. And what that means is you can submit an SAT score, but in fact, there's a broad array of other information to provide a more holistic perspective as to the student's strengths and other areas that they might need to build. So this sort of SAT optional, of which now COVID pushed a lot of institutions, 75% of higher ed institutions in the nation are now moving into SAT optional. We've been piloting it for a number of years now. All of our four-year institutions have done it. The early results that we have are that it has helped diversify our campuses. Students are voluntarily opting not to take the SAT, and we're watching very closely the impact over time in terms of retention and continued graduation. So again, very empirically based, but we think this is a better way to evaluate students in a broad lens as opposed to a single unitary standard.